Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Chuck Hogan and welcome to Your Best Life. Welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to always download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, please go ahead and make sure that you rate and leave a comment. The app's completely free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs with this technology we have today, 2016 and forward. So please welcome tonight for another amazing adventure on Your Best Life. And, I've been so blessed to be a part of this community of presenters, and I will say like-hearted, like-minded souls who've made a commitment to making the world a better place. And my next guest, and I actually feel, and I'm going to say this, my brother from another, because we've done a show together, and I felt such a deep connection to Eric. Eric Stenlake is one of those guys that when you meet him, it's not only infectious, you feel him. There are people that have come into your sphere and your universe, and you know that you're just meant to be having conversations with this person. And as an educator, as someone who has spent his life in helping procure the advancement of technology through mentorship. That's what being an educator is in today's world. And Eric, I'm curious because I know you to be an educator. What else do you do? I would imagine that you consult, you strategize, you coach, tell me a little bit more about what makes Eric Stenlake tick on a daily basis.
Well, first of all, Chuck, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been an absolute honor to be here. And like you said, yeah, two like-minded guys getting together to, shoot the breeze over some really cool stuff involving, the best sides of life. How could you ask for anything more? So, yeah, listen, as an educator, which I just rolled into the house from school. I mean, that hot off the press. That's what I do. I work at a middle school and support kids in that field of work. I am also a senior consultant with Franklin Covey in their education division. So I go all over North America and helping to guide teachers with the 7 habits of highly effective people and how to implement that in their lives personally, professionally, and then how to bring it and teach it to the kids. I'm also a life coach and have been in that space now for the last few years. Just a natural progression of like, hey, I've been doing all this and let me add that to it because, hey, that's pretty cool too. And so getting to work with teens, parents, and families in that space and really working on that head-heart connection and systems and processes within the family unit to help make you guys the best families that you possibly can be. Because you know what? Let's save the drama for someone else, somewhere else, and let's really get into working effectively as a family unit. So, hey, that's just a few things that I'm doing with my life. I'm sure I'm going to add something else in here, shortly. Whatever comes across my plate, let's do it.
I love it, brother. I love it. It's so amazing in today's climate because it used to be that you did one thing. And that's what you were expected to do is live one way, do one thing, hold that standard. And you pretty much prognosticated living in that identity for the balance of your life. And then you retired. And it's like, interesting. Okay. So why is it different today? And I started to ponder this. I'd love to hear your views on this.
Sure. Well, you brought up a great point. I mean, we've moved from the industrialized age era of which we're standing on the assembly line. We have one job to do, which is to put in that bolt, pull a lever, wait for the whistle to blow for break and lunch, and then we're out of here, right? Yeah, I mean, look at where we've come in the technology age, the information age, and how fast things are at our fingertips. And I think what people too are realizing is that one job space is no longer really what people are focusing on, but they're really connecting to what makes me happy, what brings me joy, what can I do. And so the whole space of entrepreneurship has just exploded. And there's so many great mentors out there saying, listen, you don't have to, be blinders on, like a horse. You get to explore. There's a big, beautiful world out there. Don't ask yourself, what do I want to do? It's like, where do I want to go? What can I be? What is my potential? How do I unlock that and unleash that? Where is that going to lead? What kind of creativity is that going to just naturally bring to me? And that's why I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing it. And people are like, dude, you're nuts. I'm like, yes, I am. And I'm loving it.
It's a shame you don't have any energy, though.
I know. End of the day, after working with middle school students, holy smokes.
But that's the beauty of it, is that I believe that people are looking for aspiration. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking to have role models and guides. And it's not enough. When we start to talk about influencers, I actually believe teachers are the influencers of the world. I actually believe educators are the ones that are actually prognosticating and sharing standards, values, expectations, and not only the management of them, the SOPs and the KPIs, so the standard operating procedures, and also the key performance indicators that go with this. Some people call them grades, and I go, oh no, what if it's happiness? What if it's a smile? What if it's someone finding their voice, removing self-doubt? It's the levels that we get to engage with now are, I could call them a pipe dream. Back in the days of the Jetsons, we're doing what Spacely Sprockets would be doing, or Cogswell's Cogs. We're having a conversation over the airwaves, one-to-one, not on a broadcast studio with a big camera and gaffers and lighting and, mics everywhere. Although, yes, we have microphones right here. And what's interesting, though, is that we get to engage. And you said something beautifully, my brother, and I really want to honor you for this. None of this is a have to. None of it. It's all a get to. So what would you say to someone when they go, okay, Eric, but that's great. You're a leader in all these areas of your life. You studied with Franklin Covey. You studied the 7 effective habits and that's amazing. And I go, yes, but we've had all these things. We've had the 10 Commandments. We've had the Torah, the Bible, the Korah. We've had teachings from all these different religious sects. And so there have been guidelines, if we want to call them moral valuations, ethical engagements, for centuries. Yet that doesn't make you a leader. So what would you say to the mom or the dad who's trying to figure out why the young adult in their life may be cutting or disassociating or blocking? What are some of the steps? In fact, I'm going to ask it a slightly different way, so I apologize. What are some of the emotions and characteristics where people can place their focus to help cultivate true leadership?
Yeah. Boy, it's a great question, Chuck. And I think, as I have parent clients that come in and say, listen, I got this kid. They've got some things going on, right? I start and turn the tables and start talking to the parents about what they're doing.
Yes,
what matters most to them. Where do they want to be? What do they want? Because more often than not, I find out that as the adults in that family unit, they're dealing with some internal struggles. Yes. They're dealing with things that are the dreams that they have, the pipe dreams to their kids. I wanted my kid to do this. They're doing this. Like, hello, like, I don't think that's right for them. And I said, according to whom? To you or to them? Right. So let's first dial that in before we bring in your kid to ask them what they want. And then they're like, wait a minute, you're going to ask my kid what they want? Well, yeah. They are the drivers of who they are and where they're going and the direction and dreams that they want to achieve. Absolutely. Who am I to stand in that way? Why can't I be their champion and say, yeah, I'm your cheerleader, your champion. I'm going to help you go. And that's a different perspective. Listen, coming from the world of education, I wanted my kids, I'm like, listen, you're going to get out of high school, you're going to go to college, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. I've got your whole life mapped out. None of them are doing anything that I wanted for them. But you know what? They're all happy.
Yes. Brilliant. Because I've had this ideology for decades now. And that is, you are how you feel.
Yeah.
I don't know of a parent whose aspiration isn't for their child to be happy. Now, it'd be nice if they were not just happy and possibly gainfully employed, but I go, at what? I just spent yesterday giving a presentation to a client of mine, and he owns a plumbing company. I'm in a room with 50 plumbers, 50 plumbing technicians, and they had just finished this amazing engagement about culture creation and caring for their clients and putting their best foot forward and being present. And I'm like going, I've got nothing for you guys today. I said, I'm inspired by you. This is a culture of creativity, collaboration, love, connection, growth, contribution. And here's what I can tell you. There are people who would love to have your skill. There are people who would love, because I said, I don't know of a neurosurgeon that goes out and changes his own water heater. I don't know of a highly paid attorney that's going out and fixing their sprinkler system. I'm not saying they can't. Most don't. So your skill set is so specialized in your capacity to understand building code, requirements, permits, the proper PSI, the performance of these, so that way people can actually reside in their home and live and thrive and grow, have water, they can actually shower, they can bathe, they can exercise really good hygiene. And they're like, oh, we didn't look at it that way. I said, I understand, because you're out there doing your job, and what you're being is an inspiration, an aspiration, and a leader in one modality of someone's life. So to your point, I don't know that college, as much as I'm a proponent of education, I believe that you can get education in other areas as well now. Because I don't know that you need a college degree to work on my car. But I know I've paid some healthy money to have my cars repaired. I say the same thing about a welder. I go, I don't know that you need a college degree, but most things that are metal are welded together and not just by robotics. To your point, there are so many different levels of interest. Yet I'm going to come back to leadership, because I would love to ask you what your thoughts are, Eric, on mentorship. Because in my model of the world, it's something that's sorely lacking right now.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? The best thing that I ever did for our three kids, was to move out of the role of a parent into more of a mentor or a guide.
Yes.
That opened up communication. It opened up trust. It opened up possibilities. It opened up potential, of which they had that freedom to explore that space. And I think for me, being a life coach and providing that service for a teen or a young adult, that's what they are lacking. We're seeing it in the schools. Like, I'm in a middle school right now, right? And listen, we're in the era of who's the female singer who's just everywhere. She's in all the Eras tour. Taylor Swift. Sorry, my mind was Taylor Swift, right? And her big thing is being besties, right? So these kids, we're walking around, and their kids are yelling across, "Mr. S, hi, bestie," and they're making the heart shapes with their hands, right? And why? And people are going, why are these kids so connected to you? And I say, because I'm providing and I'm giving them something they're not getting.
Yes.
They're not getting the mentorship. They're not getting this type of care and attention and love that is lacking out there. And I'm not saying I'm the perfect parent or I'm the perfect educator. But I know that if I can reach in here,
yes,
I'm going to help them get to here.
And
I'm providing that here for them, so that now they're turning into, I am willing to try to learn. I am willing to engage in my education because I know that someone cares for me.
No one cares what you have to say until they know how much you care.
Boom.
It's absolutely true. And bless you. I will say this, that the number one gift we can give to a young adult or to another human being is presence.
Yeah.
The second is authenticity. When we combine those two modalities together, it really does create this unabridged level of three things. One, and they're three of the top human needs that we have. There's six of them, but there's certainty. When someone knows that you care and there's the measure of security and certainty that you matter and that there's value in you, it shifts your entire existence. The second part is that also fuels your vulnerability, that you understand that there's some uncertainty and variety. And there's an age-old behavioral sciences rule which says the quality of your life is a direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that you can comfortably live with. Mm-hmm. And I believe that to my whole heart. The third one gets kind of a bad rap, but they go, oh, it feeds significance. And I go, huh. And you know why this is so imperative? Because for decades I go, oh, don't be egotistical, don't be significant, don't be self-centered. And I said, you need to love yourself. You need to have self-confidence. The reason why we have so many people who are codependent now on Ritalin and Prozac and Zoloft or vaping or cigarettes or marijuana or whatever, fentanyl. I'm like, going, for the love of Pete, like, no, you're not broken. And so bless you, Eric, for being that bastion and a safe harbor for people. And I know why you do it, because it fills you up and it's who you are. Yeah. I came to this realization 20 years ago, and I'd love to get your feed forward and feedback on this. We have a family saying, and the family saying is you can be doing your best, but never being your best. And as God is my witness, I know a lot of people who are struggling to do their best. They're out there working 2 jobs. They don't want their kids to be latchkey, but they are trying to put food on the table. Taxes are high, benefits are low. And so I commend them because they're working their tail feathers off. I was also reminded that when you're being your best, you'll always do your best. Wow. With whatever resources you have access to in that moment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's one precursor to this, and I'd love to get your feedback forward and back on this, and that is, why is there such a high level of criticism and less curiosity? Because it feels like it's just killing dreams and hopes and forward movement and progression. What would you say to someone who's looking for guidance in today's age? What are some of the questions? What's some of the feed forward that you can give our viewing audience tonight? As a parent, because I believe, again, they're doing their best, but they may not be being their best. Are they really being present? What would you say to someone that's going, help? Help.
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to come in and I'm going to tell them, be prepared to give yourself unconditional love and unconditional acceptance.
Beautiful.
Understand that on some days, your best is 100%. And you're like, I am rocking, I am flowing, I got energy from everywhere. My vibrations are high and I'm rolling. And on some days, and I did a live in my Facebook group this morning about this, I'm like, I am so tired this morning. But I am showing up to be present for these kids and this staff here. And maybe my level is about 75%. 60, 75%, but you know what? I'm giving all of that. That is 100%.
That is.
So even though you're looking at numbers on a scale like, hey, this might be 100%, but this day I'm giving all that I can give and I'm at 100%. And so I'm still being able to be authentic, to show up, be vulnerable, to give all that I can within that space. And you know what happened after? By the time first period was over, my 100% was at this 100%, where I like to be in my high vibration.
Yes.
And so, to go forward with that, then I say to people, okay, what would it look like to you, say 6 months from now? If you were to start something today that you wanted to do, what would that look like for you 6 months from now? What would that look like then in the next 6 months? Where would you be? What would that look like? And then, okay, let's go backwards and okay, let's have some trail awareness here. You're going to hiking in the woods. You got to have trail awareness.
Yeah.
Right. So what would you need to be aware of in your path, in your trail for you to get from today to 6 months from now? What might you say, this might come across my path? Okay, well, what might that look like? Well, it could be this bear. Okay, what represents that bear for you?
Right.
Or what represents this big boulder that's in your way? How can you get over it? How can you get around it? How can you get under it? That's your trail awareness. Knowing that you've got these obstacles that are going to come at you naturally, and to be prepared for that. And then as you're moving through that, you're building that capacity to do more, to be more. And then before you know it, you're like, wow, look how far I've come.
Oh, it's amazing. You know, I hope people are listening out there right now, because this is gold. What you're sharing with them, what this represents in the manifestation of resourcefulness. So many people feel like they don't have any options. So thank you for bringing that insight into this conversation. There are so many folks who now feel like they're being subjugated, and they go, "Oh, well, the government's doing this to me. I'm being oppressed." You know, Newsom, or in our state, Abbott, whatever the case might be. And it's like, wait, that's not really true. They're advocating for the things they believe in. So I don't point fingers and go, "Oh, you're screwing up, you're messing up." I go, well, somewhere, somehow, because you didn't just pass the law. So a bunch of your constituents believe the same thing too. So if it's going right, everyone's loving to take credit. When it's going not so right, everyone is willing to deflect and marginalize and distort and delete and generalize information. And I go, okay. And that's not wrong either. It's just perspective. So to your point, I'd like to ask something really direct, and that is, what do you feel is missing in today's education environment? I don't want to call it the process, because there's so many different nuances that make up education. What do you feel fundamentally is missing in today's climate?
Yeah, I tell you what, we've been having this conversation all week. Right? We're coming down to the end of the school year, and people are like, well, what's going on? What's happening? There's drama in the education system today. Let me tell you something, brother. And it's like, what? And somebody just asked me today, well, why aren't we teaching things like how to properly navigate through the education system as a student?
Yes.
Why aren't we being able to look at those things as being just as important as the end product score that some district wants to see? Now, listen, the scores are great, but listen, I was telling my kids this as we're getting, in state testing the last 2 weeks. This score that you're going to earn on this does not define who you are.
Correct.
And so for them, like, just to bring some of that piece to them, because they're overwhelmed.
Yes.
Because of what is being the projections from someone else on that student of what they should know, how fast they should do it. All of those things is why we have so many kids in stress and overwhelm.
Oh.
Because we're not going into that space of having these students discover who they are in the journey.
Right.
And it's all about the academia.
I wish people would understand this, because I work with a lot of executives in business, and the modern day education system is pigeonholing people based on false narrative and academic, and forgive me for being somewhat curt when I say this. My mother was an educator, I should say. She's still with us, but she doesn't teach anymore. And my sister's a teacher up in Oregon now. They just moved from Southern California up to Oregon. What's interesting is that if you were to look at the adjunct of how much calculus, trigonometry, theoretical mathematics you'll be required to use, that I had to take for my finance real estate law degree, But that had nothing to do with my behavioral sciences background. I didn't. Neurolinguistics programming, neuroscience conditioning, hypnotherapy. I really don't factor anything. I don't use statistical analysis. I do use divergent thinking, deductive reasoning. And I said, but again, I don't know that my grasp of trigonometry or geometry facilitates that. And I said, so if I'm a graphic artist who's working on CGI films, is that mathematics or is that artistry and creativity? Because now the programs actually translate some of those skill sets. To your point, I really wish that we go back in some ways to the 1950s where you actually had vocational training, where people there was welding in auto body shop and plumbing and electrical. And I go, oh my gosh. And someone said, well, why? I go, okay, let me put it in perspective. We just spent $68,000 a year for my son to go to Baylor for 4 years. He graduated in December with a biochem major and a comp sci minor. And thank goodness he had an academic scholarship, but we're still in the hole for about $120K. I know electricians that after 2 or 3 years of apprenticeship are making well $250,000, $300,000 a year, running their own little plumbing truck or HVAC. And I'm like going, and you know how much debt they have? Zilch, zippo, nada. And so people go, wait, what? I go, listen, you can go through an apprenticeship where you get paid to learn while you're honing your craft. Yeah. Home building. Do you live in one? I do too. I didn't build it. And so I look at these things now and go, why are we not teaching fundamental skills to people who are amazing? It's like, oh, but you need mathematics to do construction. I said, yes. And people can be taught skill. How do we identify it? How do we actually help now? Because I see a huge hole, and I'd love to hear this as an educator. Counselors, academic counselors. I'm at odds, honest, Eric, to figure out, and they're great people, and they're in an overwhelming situation because the standards that are being kept and how financing works for educational systems relative to STAR exams and state legislation, right? And I go, oh, wait, so your students are a business. And in fact, if they miss more than X number of days, they're considered to be in truancy because they've broken an economic contract with the school when it says the school makes X amount of money for that person saying, here, ma'am, in attendance. And I'm like, holy smokes. Am I off base here? Because I'm like going.
No, you're 100% right, Chuck. 100% right. It is a business, right? And when we look at it from that perspective, it is 100% right. We need warm bodies in the seats, at the start of the day up until a certain point in time, and as long as they're there within that time frame, then there's money, allocated monies that will be earned from them to be in that seat. And I think I love the direction you were going in this, because I think it is sorely missed. And we are doing this country. Let's not even go into the globally. Let's just talk about the U.S. here. We are doing the U.S. a disservice if we are not providing opportunities for these kids to learn skill sets like these.
Yes.
Because I mean, depending upon what is going to be going on in the next few years here, there is a lack of employees in numbers for the skilled labor force.
6 million.
Yeah.
There's a need for 6 million skilled laborers in the United States now, right now.
Yeah.
And with the baby boomer generation exiting rapidly at mass numbers. So to your point, Eric, and this is something that's huge. I mean, I was like going, home ec, how to prepare healthy meals for yourself. You want to get rid of diabetes and hypertension and obesity? Have people eat at home more healthy meals.
Yeah.
Teach them about nutrition and not the fake nutrition of the hierarchy of the food pyramid. Let's actually have genomic indexing through CRISPR that shows your genetic predisposition based on heritage, culture, as to whether or not you're lactose intolerant, celiac disease. But the truth of the matter is, and I don't mean to go off on this tangent, but I'll just say GMO food, from where we were 50 years ago, grains, everything, we're at such a deficit.
Yeah.
And so I go there for a reason. I'm like going, these kids don't know how to balance a budget. They don't know the value of a dollar.
Yeah.
They don't. I'm seeing people, what are they paying at In-N-Out Burger in Southern California right now? Because we have In-N-Outs here in Texas right now.
Yeah. So $22 to $24 an hour.
Yes. And I'm like going, do you want fries with that? I'm like going, holy smokes.
Yep.
And yet you can graduate with college with a 4-year degree. And as a lab researcher, you're making $25 to $28 an hour. And I'm like going, for way more skill requirement. Yeah. So there's this presupposition now that there's some confusion in the marketplace. I found out that a young man who helped us a couple weeks ago with one of our cars at BMW, he is a BMW customer service rep, sales service rep. You have any idea what this 27-year-old man makes a year as a service rep? Almost $140K. Wow. Excuse me? And I was like, well, wait a second. I know physicians, general practitioner, family doctors that are making $150K a year.
Yeah.
So our son was actually pre-med. We just talked him out of going to medical school because of where ChatGPT and AI is. And with genomic indexing and everything being uploaded into the cloud now, all of this data, prognoses of, like, WebMD's gotten so advanced now that if you have this dot on your arm, go seek your dermatologist's information, but this is what it probably is. Now, why do I go there? In a year or two, your iWatch, your Whoop, your Aura Ring is going to be able to actually measure the epithelials, genetic indexing, and tell you what's going on in your body if you're vitamin D deficient. So all of these processes where they're like going, oh, we'll go turn your blood work in, this, that, and the other. I'm like going, wait, it's actually calculating all this that night. And when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have a report and it's going to say, oh, we've already let your nurse practitioner know that your vitamin D count is low. So Walgreens is going to have your prescription. Right. I'm like going, okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
How much did it cost? I go, oh, there's no copay because you didn't go see anybody. Wait, what? Wait, okay. Who's on first? I'm like going, I feel like it's a bad Abbott and Costello skit.
Yeah.
The one thing that I pray does not go away, and I mean this from the center of my heart, brother, is educators. And here's why. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge exercised and executed creates empowerment. And without having people holding us accountable, to that point, bless you, my brother, for always aspiring to elevate your frequency and bring people in, because that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that beacon. There's a reason why they call your name. There's a reason why they give you a shout out. There's a reason why they're throwing hearts at you. It's because you're a spectacular human being. And what we need more of in this world is more Erics, We really do. How do we impart best practices that you've seen that work? Because I see a bunch of these educators, young educators who are coming out of school now, and they want to be everybody's friend.
Yeah.
What up? Hey, yo. I'm like, okay, wait, stop with the lingo stuff. Be the example.
Yeah.
Because to your point, I can't be someone's buddy.
Right.
I've got to be their guide.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we establish? I love what you said. You're traveling all over North America and espousing using the tenets of leadership.
Yeah.
My bigger question is this: why is it taking so long for us to be able to spread the word, my friend?
Boy, there's $1 million question, right? Because I think there's a lot. Well, here's your trail awareness. I'm going down this trail of life, and now I have these. I see this vision of where we can go, what we can do. Oh, look, here comes ego. Oh, look, here comes agenda. Oh, look, here comes perceptions. Oh, look, here comes this. Here comes that from all this outside that
Right.
they think they're doing the world, the best thing they possibly can, when
Sure.
in all actuality is they're hurting everyone and everything around them, because they're not understanding what is needed and what people want, what is needed for these kids or this organization. And they're coming from that place of, I know best for you what you should do, and here's what you're going to do. And we want you to be in compliance. And if you're not in compliance, there's going to be consequences for that.
You know, it was funny that you say that, because what just flowed through me was, I see people of power and means, and what I will say have some financial independence or remuneration for their services and where they've been living. So they've had a sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And I also realized that these people are used to getting their way. How often? And I said, pretty much all the freaking time. So what they become really great at in some instances is creating employees, but not creating ownership or growth. And I don't mean to sound berating or rude or disconcerting. I go, because the more employees they have, the more prosperity it provides to them. And I said, whoa, that's a very altered modality and motive and intent. Because it wasn't to empower, it was to indenture. Mm-hmm. It was to create a level of sphere of influence that they have. And then someone said, well, give me an example. And I said, well, let's look at modern day reality television. Because with all due respects to the royal family, self-proclaimed, of Southern California, the Kardashians, I was like, going, okay, Kim's not even 40. She's been married how many times? She's had how many kids? And now she's in another broken relationship. And it's like, interesting. Is that just by happenstance? Or is that due to life circumstances? And I go, oh, there's only one of them that's happily married right now that I can tell. And she's married to Travis Barker, who, by all objectives, you don't go, yeah, the most normal guy in the room. Yet, despite all his tats, if you took those away, he is the most normal guy in the room. It's because he doesn't need their wealth or their influence. He has had, talk about having the most reassurance of any human being within that community. Because of Bruce, I thought Bruce Jenner as a decathlete would have been very indentured to his own masculinity, only to find out that no. And so I'm not trying to make this political or about identities or pronouns. I would say it's more so about owning self. Mm-hmm. We need role models that are being truthful. In as much as we've had family members in my family who are politicians, and I will tell you they're beautiful people, because they didn't serve for the office. They served to give back to the community. I said, that's a very different modality. They also knew when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And they recused themselves. Because what's the currency of politicians?
Yeah.
Votes.
Yeah, that's it.
They're all about votes. And I go, oh my gosh. So as much as I'd like to say that the education system isn't predicated on politics, we just had a school board vote here. And I don't mean to sound judgmental, because anyone who knows me knows that I'm a very pragmatic person and I love people. I really wish the person who got re-voted to be the president of the school board, because it was only off by 220 some odd votes. But they know how to play the game better. Yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, is that what it's come down to, is gamemanship? I'm so over everyone going, let's gamify education. Let's gamify this. I'm like, wait, I have to turn this into Xbox and PlayStation 5 in order for people to learn? We need to go to the next stage of Ready Player One in the metaverse, so that you have an avatar and I have an avatar, and we don't have to be ourselves. We can be some hidden version of ourselves that hides by proxy. Is that the message?
Yeah, you know, and I think you touched on something a minute ago that I'm going to circle back to, and it's one a favorite word of mine, is that the empowerment.
Oh,
and I think we're missing so much of that empowerment because we're so used to being told what to do, when to do, how to do, right? And so when kids, you know, say to me, oh, you know, Mr. S, what do I need this for? And I said, because you're going to need this in your life when you go to do certain things. And you're like, well, I don't want to do this. Okay, great. Tell me what you want to do. Well, I want to own a bit. I want to own a skate shop, or I want to work on cars, or I want to do this. In saying math for you in this role. And they miss that connection.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I try to do is bring that back together for them and say, this is where your education is going to help you be successful here. Yes. I'm not saying all of it. No. I'm saying this thing right here is going to help you be who you want to be.
Yes.
So you have to own self. You have to own self to know that you need to do this work, this schoolwork, to become who you want to be.
Know you so you can be you.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's to this, oh my gosh, brother, I mean, it's like the Jenga blocks are all falling into place. But no, I just had this conversation with someone. I said, they're a brilliant artist. They are not a business person. They think there's three categories of people: manager, entrepreneur, artist. They're about, I go, chefs are artists, architects are artists, interior designers are artists, car designers are artists, clothing designers, makeup. I go, we can go on and on and on. Leader manager, oh, people who are managing the optics of an operational system. They love systems. They love having processes. Then you have the entrepreneur, and they go, I don't care. I'm going to throw money at this. I've got a dream. And then when do they get distracted? It's not if, it's when they get distracted. Then they go, okay, I thought of this. I got us the money. You run it, leader manager. You create artists. And I expect to get some dividends, but I'm going to go start another company.
Yep.
And I go, when we start to understand this, then we can actually be ourselves. Because we start to see this in the modalities of youth. Hey, they're growing. They're not growing. Hey, they're expanding. Oh my gosh, they have divergent thinking. This kid, they're going to be a world leader. Why? Because they want to argue about everything. They have this great ideology, and they're going, you know what? That was a brilliant defense to that question. Yeah. You get to see it all. I'm so jealous. And I have three kids as well. I have a 23, a 20, and a 17-year-old. So we're in that gap of college graduate, in the middle of college, just getting ready to go. And I'm like, man, they're expensive. And I'm going, where we were so adamant about education, and I still am. What I'm looking more at now is how do they need to get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I go, ooh, because I know people who are influencers and they have podcasts. They never did a lick of college, yet, holy smokes, they're out there making magic happen.
Yeah.
They've studied the pragmatics of relationships and people and skills and communication. Some, not even that.
Yeah.
Where would you say, in your estimation of the world, Eric, is a great place for young adults to spend their time right now?
Boy, that's so great. Being who they want to be.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
being who they dream to be.
Yes.
Because there are so many adults that are midlife. We call it the midlife crisis. Why do we have a midlife crisis? Because I haven't been living me. I haven't been living my dream. I haven't been living my potential. My, and I get to this point and then I go, my life stinks. And then at, midlife crisis time, I'm going to try to do something new. But what if I explored those possibilities at a younger age? And I heard somebody talking this morning about my dad encouraged me to go try as many things that I could. And this guy goes, I had 26 jobs in 1 year because I could check off the list. Don't want to do that. Nope,
Yeah.
don't want to do that. Hey, I kind of like this, until they finally landed within and bookended life, as if you will, and began to narrow that focus down to what brought them joy, what brought them peace, what brought them that happiness, what space were they in, and then they began to dump and pour and invest everything into that space. And then that's when they came out the other side going, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. This is what I'm going to do. And it came from here.
Yes.
And all roads lead back to this.
Curiosity and not criticism.
Yep.
It's man, thank you, Eric. I could talk to you all day. Look, seriously, brother. I feel you. I respect you. I love you. I appreciate you.
Reciprocated.
Thank you, my man.
Right back.
How do people get in contact with you, Eric? How can people go deeper with you?
Sure. So my business is called Energetic Life Now, and you can find me energeticlifenow.com. I'm on all the social medias, and I have a private Facebook group, the Empowered Family Network. And so you can pop in there. It's everything, anything related to family from birth to death. And we cover multitudes of topics. There's no, I don't have kids. Don't worry about it. You've been in a family. You're in a family. You're going to be in a family. You're family. So hop in there and come join the fun. And we have an absolute blast there.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to highly encourage you to check it out. Please. It's beautiful to see people who are committed to your progress, your growth, your happiness, and your expansion. The world gets better. Caring is sharing. And I can say this because I know Eric definitely from this standpoint, and that is he is a loving, caring soul. Please surround yourself with beautiful people. Life is too short. Take the time to make sure that you're fueling yourself and exercising self-care. If we here at YBL can do anything to help support any of you, come check us out. Just go to yblnow.com. You'll see everything about who we are and what we do and why. Really, it's about this. You can live life, but live your best life. Your family, your friends, your community, your loved ones. We get to. You don't have to. You didn't have to be here tonight, but we thank you for being here. For all of you, all of our fans, all of our just compatriots, all of you friends of Eric, thank you for tuning in tonight. And you don't get to manifest more time. So we appreciate you investing it in your furtherment and development in life. So I love you, brother. I appreciate you. We're going to remind our listeners that this show can be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check us out at http://spanglishworld.ca for all the news and all the programming. That's right. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Chuck.